Namaste everyone. In this video I would like to discuss about Jupiter entering Scorpio in October 2018 and how this is going to help us pioneer into the Aquarian age. Okay, right now we are at the cusp, the Piscean age, which we have been in for thousands of years. And we know that Piscean age, the matriarch oppression, suppression, emotional mess, segregation, inequality, war, all based on this emotional neurosis. We don't know how to manage our emotions, and that's the Pisces. Okay, Pisces shadow side, a lot of times it can be substance abuse. Okay, Pisces is very sensitive, and when Pisces is not in the higher octave, which is using creativity, talents, gifts, expression to remedy their emotions, to balance their emotions, to heal their emotions, what we have is the the Piscean age that we are now exiting out of, which is any sort of artistic expression was usually very dark, like the Gothic periods, very dark, um, kind of reflecting our emotional inconsistency, or just overall our emotional imbalance. Okay, so entering the Aquarian age, so we have this overlapping right now, and the Aquarian age is about integrity and dignity. So if we're going to move forward, we need integrity and dignity, and that's very much what Yogi Bhajan was. He was a very stronghold for integrity and dignity, which represents the Aquarian breed. So no longer do we have to lie or forms of deception to get what we want. We're doing it direct. Okay, through magnetism, which is the Aquarian intelligence. Aquarius is the higher intelligence. So we're using our higher intelligence, which is almost it's psychic abilities, but just an internal knowing. That's what we say the knowing is like the Aquarian age. So that internal knowing and guiding that through our self-governing, self-responsible, self-sovereign self identity. So the identity of the Aquarius is the identity that is a multitude of dimensions and a multitude of dynamics. That's the Aquarian originality and authenticity. So with this overlapping we have going on as Aquarius is pulling us, rising us out of the emotional whatever thing that we were in for a long time, whatever that was. It's pulling us out of that, it's rising out of that. But what's happening is the Piscean, the shadow self, we've gotten so comfy and cozy in our little addictions and our bad habits and just suppressing ourselves, lying to ourselves, denying and ignoring ourselves, that getting out of that and stepping into basically transparency, really high self-respect, that's a challenge when we've been told countless times again, bad you, shame you, blame you, and that's a part of the emotions of I'm gonna say, yeah, the negative or the shadow side of the Piscean emotions. We don't know how to manage it, and we kind of just shame each other, we blame each other, and that's kind of like an addiction. We use this substance to kind of take control of us. Okay? The reason why we're out of control is we want something to use as the reason why we're out of control. And that's the reason. He did that. That's why I'm out of control. She did that. That's why I'm out of control. So that we see that in our society, don't we? Okay, this whole kind of this thing happened, so that's why I'm out of control. Okay, but the Aquarian age, so this cusp period, is having a lot of we're shaken up. Because Aquarian is very high respect, but that Pisces that we were in was very, very low respect for ourselves. We did any sort of form of deception to become the king, and played that game for many, many centuries as I'm the king, but no sense of identity, okay? No sense of integrity, and no sense of authenticity. So Aquarian age is about I know who I am. And that, like I said, multi-dimensional, multifaceted, multi just dynamic. That's who I am, and that creates a level of wisdom, a level of coming into your high reverence is the Aquarian future for humanity. Okay, so gave you a little bit a snippet of the Piscean age and the Aquarian age and kind of what's going on the planet as we were at this cusp, the overlapping of two ages. Okay, so the Pisceans, neurosis, this addictions, habits, they must go, and Aquarian is giving us that authenticity, kind of that transparency, that sensitivity through just a knowing. Like we just know through intelligence that okay, this is not working. We need to put in some. We need to rise. It's kind of like we need to rise out of that. Okay. So with Jupiter, okay, I'm getting into the Jupiter energy. So Jupiter, it takes about 12 years to circle the zodiac. So 12 years circling the wheel, okay, like Aries to Pisces, okay? And the Jupiter energy, it is a masculine energy, and it rules both the Sagittarius and the Pisces and the ninth and the 12th houses. Okay, so the ninth house, which represents the Jupiter, the Sagittarius, and the 12th house representing the Pisces energy. Okay, so I'm going to go into a little bit into the particular houses. Okay. Da, da, da. Okay. So the ninth house is kind of like we could say the house of seeking deeper meaning for life. So that's why it's very much Sagittarius, and how we go about doing that is through experiences such as higher education, such as travel, such as expanding our horizons, expanding our minds. So we're very much like a philosopher on a journey, and we're pioneering forward to gather perceptions, perspectives that we can organize into knowledge for further understanding on what is this about, okay? What is the true meaning of who I am and our life? So it's going out there and kind of gathering a collection of understandings and putting it together and coming up with a higher understanding about yourself. So the Sagittarius is very much it's fire energy, so it's you're going out there. So the ninth house can be very much about your going out there. There's a level of putting yourself out there. When we say putting myself out there, we can say I'm taking a chance, but it's not necessarily like I'm risking. It's more so that I am participating with life. I want to participate with the many, many aspects of life, like the many religions and the many ideologies and the many beliefs, so that I'm not limited on who I think I am and therefore dogmatic. So Sagittarius is very much, I don't want to be dogmatic. I want to be expansive. I want to be dynamic in my understanding. I want to be able to relate to people and their perspective. Not only relate to them, but have my own sort of internal knowledge to be able to maybe help them expand their own belief. So we get into being like a teacher, very much like a philosopher. You were very expanded in your understanding because you went out there and you participated with life. So now when you are meeting people and they have fixed beliefs, you have this ability through your teaching to teach to them a way that they can open up their horizons and experience a potential that maybe they were blocked to before, but that potential actually is more liberating, and it's more in alignment with who they are as a person. They just needed to simply kind of open up that spaces within the mind. So the Sagittarius is like, the pastures are open and I'm going to discover all the wildflowers. I'm going to sit with each wildflower and I'm going to study and I'm going to learn, and then I'm going to go back to the village and I'm going to teach these flowers and how they what they are and what I've learned from my own observation, what my teachers have taught me about these wildflowers. Okay, so that's kind of the ninth house, and that's very much like the Sagittarius energy with your own personal, what you're here to really participate in and kind of expand in, so that you can teach it to other people through your own deepening of the meaning behind what this is. Okay, the subject, the zodiac that's in that house. So it could be Aries, it could be Taurus, it could be Gemini, da 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 da. Okay, so then we have the 12th house. So getting into the 12th house. Okay. So, like I said, the Pisces. So it's very much Pisces represents the soul. So I love so our soul brought down to planet Earth. So we have Pisces and we have the Neptune energy, and that's it's very psychic. It's very it's very, look at say, imagination. Okay, and when we think of imagination, we think of also creation and our intention for why we wanted to come to planet Earth at this time. What did we overall wish to imagine and then bring into creation for this particular life? And that's very much like the Scorpio. Okay, we had this imagination. We imagined this experience in this particular lifetime when we were in the higher realms. We were in this higher dimension, and through creation, we came down to earth to experience that imagined reality into this physical domain. Okay, and there's a level of completion. That's why it's the 12th house. It's like the completion energy, very much like the coming full circle. And coming full circle, it's very much about this. I imagined and it came true. Okay, so it's like this in Neptune, but it's not as it came true as I went through the many, you could say, lessons of planet Earth to get to this point within myself where I came through on what it is that I wanted to do in this particular incarnation, what I imagined. And that takes a lot of skill, that takes a lot of practice, that takes a lot of mastery. That's why the Pisces in the higher octave is very much like the yogi, or the one who knows creativity to its very it's fractals of creativity, like the little pieces that make creation. Okay, and it's very, very complex, and that's what makes the Pisces masterful in the higher octave. The lower octave, like I said, it's very much life. Okay, the sensitivity, the receptivity of life, the psyche of life, the darkness of light, and the light, the higher dimensions of light. I don't know how to kind of manage that. I don't know how to manage my imagination, my expression. I don't know how to direct it. I don't know how to command it, so I'm just out of control. I'm just out of control. Okay, so that's just a little bit about the houses. I just wanted to get into that just a little bit. Okay. Again, I'm not an astrologist, but I am learning, and I want to learn with you guys. Okay, so getting back into Jupiter entering Scorpio. Jupiter entering Scorpio. And this is very much a channeled message at this point onward. Okay, so we learned a little bit kind of what's behind Jupiter when it comes to the zodiacs, when it comes to the houses. Now, Jupiter, it overall represents the expansion of perception. Okay, it also represents the beliefs. Okay, but also not just beliefs, but the expanding upon the beliefs. So when we have eras and ages, our beliefs constantly are changing. Eras and ages constantly changing. But we do have core ones that are very much deep in our roots or deep in our subconscious. Okay, and those kind of you could see it's a part of the Homo sapien breed. So thousands of years, thousands and thousands of years of being Homo sapien, we still have those core beliefs that are pretty much our roots. Okay. But what's interesting is that the Aquarian age, it represents like we are becoming a new, almost like a new species, if that, new human species. So what that means is the roots of our being are being totally rewired. Okay, so we know that we've been many species, okay, of human design, and with those comes these root beliefs, okay, that stay with us until we evolve out of that particular human species design. So that's what the Aquarian age, that's what the technology age is doing. It's rewiring us from the very core beliefs. So Jupiter has a very magnetic gravity or magnetic energy in Jupiter. Very, very massive energy. Like I said, represents the knowledge, the collection, the gathering of knowledge for deep understanding. Now, Scorpio is very, very interesting because with Pluto, okay, we say Pluto is very much about the roots of our being. Okay, I always associate Pluto as like the subconscious realm, almost like the realm you transverse, like if you are a shaman. Okay, it's like the psyche realm, the unconscious realm, where a lot of times the majority of our stuff is kind of shoved into. Okay, because we don't know how to manage the intensity of our power. We don't know how to manage it, so we just shove it there. So Scorpio is very much about the gas stove blue of a flame. So we have many layers to a flame. Okay, we have the reds, we have the oranges, we have the yellows, the bright yellows, we have the blue, the light blue, the dark blue, all these things. So the gas stove blue, it represents the subconscious. It represents the deep of who we are. So Jupiter entering that is giving us the expansion and also giving us the will, I like to say, the will to rewire this layer that we have, because the subconscious is, the Scorpio is very much like the hidden layer. Okay, and giving us transparency to that so that we can actually have kind of like the Sagittarius mindset, where the Jupiter mindset, where we want to go into that layer, because all of a sudden we have this desire to go into that layer because we want to learn ourselves from the deep layer. Okay, and it's giving us almost like this courage as well, because Jupiter, it's like a good luck. It's like a good farewell, like good farewell on your journey. I wonder, safe travels. And so there's this level of, oh, I'm excited. There's this fun loving. I'm excited to go to Japan to learn about this. I'm excited to take classes in Buddhism or that kind of thing. Okay, so there's just like this farewell, good luck, good fortune with your endeavors and your pursuits in the pursuit of the meaning of life. Okay, good luck. Okay, so with that and the Scorpio, which is can be very heavy. Okay, it can be very, very heavy. Scorpio, because also Scorpio can represent the sexuality as well as the dark side of sexuality. We have a shadow side of that, which is like power, dominance, which we see in a lot of the sex pornography and stuff like that. But we also have with the higher octave is sexuality for Scorpio is deep partnership, is emerging. But a lot of people can't handle that intensity. They can't handle their own power, so it becomes a power kind of control and dominance. Because to the people emerging are not consolidated in their own power. So it becomes like a power kind of wrestling instead of a smooth emerging. Okay? So what that means for the Scorpio and for us collectively, okay, is that we are the darkness of our being. Because Scorpio is like, I don't fear the darkness. I'll turn off all the lights. So basically, what we're doing is we're turning off all the lights and we're deciding, you know what, I'm excited, okay, to actually learn about my subconscious and learn about what's actually going on underneath the surface that's actually kind of ruling me. Okay, it's kind of like ruling me. So it's interesting because the Scorpio I always say is like this shaman kind of guy that knows how to navigate this psyche realm, which is without fear, because they're very consolidated in their own power. So we're getting this rise in our power through our presence, not so much of the fake kind of power. Okay, we know that fake kind of power, the power that comes from the spirit directly. Okay, the spirit directly. So also we're learning about our deeper healing abilities, because Scorpio does represent this deeper healing abilities, but with the Scorpio it's through togetherness with other people. That's where the healing is taking place. And it's the ability to be vulnerable and to be transparent with another individual and to emerge with like others in a way where you are allowing your darkness, or we say our skeletons, to be received. Okay, so it's allowing this layer to be seen, this deep inner layer. So what that's how it's going to help us get into this Aquarian age is when we no longer fear the dark layer of our beings. We're no longer kind of just letting these things that we did in this life or the past life just sit in the layer in the dark corner, like Plato's cave, where everyone's just kind of staring at a dark wall. But we bring light to that. We bring enthusiasm to learn the meaning of why am I still doing these patterns, or why do I keep doing these things, or these addictions and these tendencies and habits? Like, what is the root of it? Okay, so we are entering into that cave where we have our hidden aspects just staring at a wall kind of thing, and we're bringing light to that, and we're bringing a learner's mind to that. Okay, so it's encouraging us to not fear so much of our darkness, because that fear of shame and blame and you're going to go to hell because you have some sort of fear or darkness inside of you, but we're actually rewiring the way we relate to it, and that's an expansion of a belief. So if we relate to that through like this fear thing, like this fear thing of our power and our destructive power, because Scorpio can represent the destructive power. It also can represent the creative power and the emergence of the two of them together, which makes it really intense. But embracing the intensity of our many, many lifetimes and the power that is spirit direct, we are able to rewire that relationship from fear of our power. Then we just do deception and we lie and manipulate and that kind of stuff, because that's just simply you fear, you have a fear of your ability to emerge with life. You don't really trust in it. You haven't really learned your power, your inherent power. Okay, and therefore when you haven't really learned it, you're very naive. You just don't know. So we just do things and we just don't know. Okay, So that's kind of what's going to help us to pave way into the Aquarian age, because in order for us to get out of this Piscean sort of dynamic we have, is we have to be able to learn how to face ourselves. Okay? Because not just the surface level, face ourselves and the depth of our being. Okay? And that's what's going to help us to rewire these things that we do that we don't really want to do, but we keep doing because we're in this this funk with that thing, so that we can get into the sovereign mind, which is also the Aquarian breed. And like I said, the Aquarian breed is representing a totally remodel of what we call Homo sapien, which is you and I. It's a total remodel because of the technology age. So that basically means that these children are going to have a totally different, their senses. So they're going to have more senses than what we have, just because of the technology age and the rising of the planet, the sensitivity of the planet. Okay, and the information that's just everywhere on the planet makes them more sensitive. So they're going to have awakened senses that we don't have, and that's just a part of their design. So it's going to be quite interesting. But a part of that design, what can be a block, or what can be kind of just what it doesn't serve, is having these issues that we had coming out of the Piscean age. Okay, these issues, and they're deep in the subconscious, and they're not surface level. Okay, um, so we're kind of cleaning that up. So we're learning it, we're understanding it, so that we can manage it. Very important. So that we can basically become powerful in our own ability to rewire ourselves. And that's the power of the Scorpio. It's like a shaman. You go there and you have the person transverses with you through the meditation, and all of a sudden you've rewired something, either in this lifetime or another lifetime, and it rewires you in such a way where all of a sudden you have this, maybe a gift or a talent or a healing ability that you didn't have before, because you were rewired back into, let's say, that gift or that talent, or you were rewired in such a way where you now have a design that speaks of higher intelligence, gifts, talents, abilities. Okay? It's very much like the near-death experiences a lot of people have. And the Scorpio also represents the suffering. Through the suffering, it's like your mind cracks open when you're near death, which is suffering. You're very close to death. Um, um, Basically, in using your will, you rise out of that with some sort of gift or talent. And that's very much from, you've connected to something. Okay, it's like shaman. You connected to almost like an etheric energy or something, like when you go to near death, like a higher dimension. And through that emergence with that higher dimension, your design as a human, it emerges with that design of you that's in this higher dimension. And all of a sudden, when you awaken from that death, near death experience, or from that suffering, when you've willed yourself through it, like the journey through near death, it's like you will yourself through it. You have still with you that emergence that you've had with that higher dimension. Okay, so it gives you these gifts and talents to be able to almost cross um, dimensions for retrieving of information, or almost people's, like, their fragments of themselves kind of thing. You can, so yes, that's what we're doing with this Scorpio. And Sagittarius is very a fun-loving energy. So it's very light. It's not no heavy. So it's giving this fun-loving approach at being able to learn our inner deep self, to not fear it, but to have fun with it. Have fun with learning the school of our subconscious and the stuff that's just there. So it's basically helping us in the way where it's giving us like good luck. Like, I'm giving you good luck to be able to rewire yourself so that you can actually live the life that's the Aquarian life, which is a magnetism, we get what we want. No hustling, deception, emotional kingship. I'm gonna, you know, do whatever I want to just get my kinghood. But okay, okay, and that gives us also the sovereign of mind, this freedom of mind that opens up this passage into what it is to be Aquarian breed, Aquarian leader, and to actually pave way to for that new lifestyle. Okay, so every era, age, the ages that we cross through the 12 zodiacs, it's all a lifestyle, and we have lower octaves and we have higher octaves. Okay, and all each zodiac has a lower octave and has a higher octave, particularly with the Piscean age, with our emotions and this sort of separation thing that we got from the imbalance in the patriarchal experiment. Okay, we just have a lot of people who don't know how to manage their lives. They have no idea who they are internally. Okay, so this is helping us. Scorpio is helping us to emerge with that meditative mind, almost like the shamanistic mind. Okay, so that we can retrieve aspects of ourselves that maybe we are disconnected to, so that we can feel more, we could feel more sense of our powers consolidated rather than our powers just kind of leaky and it's attached and it's fragmented, it's disjointed, and we have a lot of that right now. Okay, so getting that power more consolidated is going on a journey with yourself, your meditative mind, and learning yourself so that you can be a teacher to yourself. Okay, so you can discover yourself. So, okay, so it's kind of what we have with the Jupiter and the, this Sagittarius and this Pisces energy, and the ninth house and the 12th house, and also about what's the Pluto, Pluto and the Scorpio. So, like I said, the Pluto is about massive transformation that can take place if you want to learn yourself. If you really want to dive deep into yourself and study, if you want to expand yourself, it's there. It's available to you. Okay, and Pluto's giving you kind of this energy. I like to say the phoenix rising out of the ashes. That's what they always associate with the Pluto. Okay, you can have this. So this death and rebirth is going to become a trend, like it's gonna be a trailblazer. This death and rebirth. They're going to have a lot of people that all of a sudden are very, very different from a core level. And it's going to be accepted. So there's not going to be this weird kind of, it's going to be accepted because we're all going to be in this Jupiter and this Scorpio energy. Jupiter representing expansion. So people who are expanding themselves from a very deep level, they're actually, it's kind of, you're gonna be ahead of the trend, and you're gonna be ahead of the trend. And like Sagittarius, there's a deep admiration for Sagittarius people because they set out there and do what maybe other people would do. Okay, they set out there to learn the world. Okay, and Scorpio is like learning the emergence with yourself and how you're connecting. What is your relationship with yourself? What is your relationship with other people? Okay, how are you emerging with people? Are you emerging in a negative way or like a power dominance? Are you kind of falsing? Are you faking? That kind of thing? Because that's power. It's destroyer or creator power. So it's getting into the emergence with our relationships with life and putting in our desire to want to learn how we can better modify, refine, and improve that relationship with ourselves through that Scorpio zodiac. So when we feel our spirit, it's like the spirit. Like the Pisces represents like the soul, okay, which is like kind of like a child. It's very playful, it has a lot of energy, and the spirit is like the connectivity with all things. And that's how the shaman's being able to travel, because there's this connectivity to the elders and to the trees and to the many things and how it's all interwoven together. So our emergence of how are you interwoven together and using that emergence, the understanding yourself, the managing of yourself to remedy that kind of your interlock with things. Okay, so we're learning how to manage the interlocks we have with our sort of perception or identity of life and our connection to life, so that it can become more a smooth transition. It can be more of an accepted transformation. Okay, rather than like a resistant, deny, ignore, kind of shove away, but accepted as a part of the discovering of the deeper meaning of life. The deeper meaning of life. And not only the deeper meaning, the more the version of the self, okay, that is most in tune with their connection to all things. Okay, it's most in tune and able to feel in a way where you are intuitively guided, but you're not wrapped up. Okay, you know that there is a depth and you want to explore it because you know you're going to learn something, and it's going to deepen your ability to touch the divine in this life. Okay? So, yes, it's like the Scorpio energy is really, really kind of intense energy. Very, very intense. It's only intense because of the power of the emergence with the higher dimensions and the lower dimensions, and the transversing of your depth and your many, many lifetimes, and the gathering of talents and gifts and all of that stuff, and the darkness of yourself and the shadows of yourself. But without being able to learn our shadows, we're not going to really know how to transform, because to transform is on a shadow level. It's not this surface level, you just do an affirmation, it's just a surface level cognitive thinking. No, there's a place for cognitive thinking, which is important, those affirmations, positivity, but ultimately the Scorpio, when it is in the higher octave, the gift or the ability is very much how can we transform on the inner level, and therefore it's a transformation that happens for generations, not just a little tweak. It sets a new generational pattern or wiring. Okay, so yes, I'm going to share that with you all. Again, Scorpio is almost like psychology as well. That's why I said it's like rewiring. That has to do with neurology. Okay, and neurology a lot of times is about the subconscious, like the pathways and the orientation and the design or the grid of your neurology. It really determines the generation you are and the generations behind you and ahead of you. It determines kind of what blueprint of design are you. Okay, because you can be, it's like many Mandelas. You can be many, 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 many Mandelas, and they're individual, they're also collective, religious wise. It's, and basically, if you have an understanding of your neurology, your psychology, and how to kind of make it work for you, like moving crystals around and creating new grids that create new sort of energy currents, if you know how to current your neurology, basically you know how to change anything about yourself, transform anything, even like your level of consciousness, like that rewiring or that moving of those crystals, like, you know, create a new design, just moving the crystals about. It evokes like a doorway to, let's say, a consciousness, and a thread of consciousness that you now have access to, that you can be embodiment of. You just simply need a, it's like reading Nikola Tesla. If you wire yourself where every day all you read is Nikola Tesla, you can open the doorway to receive his consciousness. And basically receive his consciousness, you can do work that very much mirror exactly what he was doing. Okay, and that is the gift of the Scorpio and the psychology and the neurology gritting, I like to say. Okay? So thank you for watching. This is 40 minutes, so namaste.